We start with the preliminary prayers, page 3. So we set up proper motivation, which has 3 parts. In the space in front of you, in the sky in front of you, imagine Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, any masters, teachers, and anyone towards whom you have reverence. And they are looking at you with a great deal of love and affection, as a parent looks at their only child. And then you have the Bodhicitta field surrounding you, your 2 kind parents, your mother on the left, father on the right. Even if they are no more with us, you can imagine them. You imagine all other sentient beings surrounding you. And this time you are leading them in this practice and looking at them with a great deal of love and affection. And the aims of this practice are to remove our afflictive obscurations and our cognitive obscurations and reveal the Buddha nature or the Tathagata Garbha that all sentient beings or sentient have within them. So with this in mind, we start the prayers. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness, and no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the supreme amongst all teachers, the one who taught this peace, which is freed of elaborations. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the Bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, who through the knowledge of all leads hearers seeking pacification to complete peace, who through the knowledge of paths causes those helping migrators to achieve the aims of the world, and who, through the possession of omniscience, helps subduers expound a variety of teachings. The one who is transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit all sentient beings, the teacher, Shrivata, and protector, to you I make prostrations. The one who has eliminated the web of conceptualizations and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shine forth the forever noble light rays, to you, the Buddha, I make prostrations. I go for refuge until I am enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato yavadat tesham jayo nirodha evam mari mahashamanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetam tesham tathagato yavadat tesham jayo nirodha evam vadi mahashamanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato yavadat tesham jayo nirodha evam vadi mahashamanaye swaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the great seer. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light and non-composite. Such is the nectar-like dharma I have discovered. Finding no one to fathom this teaching, in silence I will retire into the woods. Beyond utterance, thought, and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unseized, and has the nature of space. It is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas of the three times, I pay obeisance. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of all, I go for refuge in the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, please liberate all beings of miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expanse of billions of eons. The Buddha does not wash the negativities of beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not transferred to them. It is by teaching the truth of suchness that beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interests, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view. We recite praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. Next, page 14. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Shugatha, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With a supreme science, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust-free like you, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparable wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the Tathagata I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the Sangha I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew, or a bubble. A dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the 4 falls, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. We will recite the Heart Sutra mantra, page 31. Tayata Om Gate Gate Aragate Arasam Gate Bodhisvara Om Gate Gate Aragate Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate 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 Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata. Page 32, 8 verses of mind training. With the determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depths of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. In all my deeds, may I probe into my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. When I see beings of unpleasant character, oppressed by strong negativity and suffering, may I hold them dear, for they are rare to find, as if I have discovered a jewel treasure. When others, out of jealousy, treat me wrongly with abuse, slander, and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have helped, or in whom I have placed great hopes, mistreats me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard him still as my precious teacher. In brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly take upon myself all hurts and pains of my mothers. May all this remain undefiled by the stains of the 8 mundane concerns, and may I, recognizing all things as illusions, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. From my 2 collections, vast as space, that I have amassed from working with effort with this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance.
Okay, last time, how many of us here were present the last class? 1, 2, 3. Okay. So which means that I will give a very quick overview of what we did last time. We were talking about the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths. So basically, the idea was that we begin with the basic thought, the basic, aspiration, the basic aspiration. Why am I, okay, interestingly, recently I met one friend, and is a little digression. He's a very senior professor, and now he's retired already. And perhaps it was like 20 years ago, very likely 20 years ago, when his daughter was like 10 years old. Not 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. Then he, being a professor, he's so keen on, say, educating his children. During any interaction, he would share something educational. So he said that finally, in our life, we should explore 3 questions, 3 points. He told the young daughter, age 10. One thing is, say, who am I? Question 1. Number 2, who is God? Or who's the ultimate? Then number 3, what is world? 3 questions. So he told his daughter that these 3 questions are the most important 3 questions in the world. And the daughter told the father, the professor, that no, there's the 3rd one, the 4th one. 4th one is the most important one. It's more important than these 3. And the father was shocked, the professor. What is the 4th one? She said, what's the purpose of life? That is more important than these 3 questions. The father asked her, where did you get this from? Okay, so this is the point. What's the purpose of life? That comes first. With the purpose of life, then okay, the purpose of life is to explore who I am, to explore what God is, to explore what the world is, whether or not there's an I, whether or not there's a God, whether or not there is the world, what the world is. If there is, what the world is. If there's a God, what is God like? If there's a self, what is the self like? So this is only then these 3 questions will make sense. This is what this young girl said. So I was so fascinated. I was more fascinated by this 10 years old girl than the professor, big professor. Okay, so from this, what we need to start with is that finally, what is the meaning of my life? What is my aspiration? This is how we have to begin. How do we have to begin? So for the aspiration, what we have been oftentimes, so those of us here who have been attending these classes, so the one thing is, we always say, be kind to yourself. That is so important. Be kind to yourself, number 1. Whether you're Buddhist or non-Buddhist, it doesn't matter. Whether you're a believer or not believer, it doesn't matter. Be kind to yourself. This is number 1 agenda. Agenda number 2, be wisely kind to yourself. Be wisely kind to yourself. And it's not applicable only to say, if you're a spiritual person, not otherwise. No, it's applicable to everyone. Anybody who's born on this earth should be kind to oneself and should be wisely kind to yourself. 2 things. The first one, what does it mean by to be kind to yourself? To be kind to yourself, if you scan your life, if you just look through your life, say starting from when you could recall your early the age. Say when you were age 4, some people can record their life since age 3, some can 4, 5. So from there, till about like age 10, 11, we see that the one who's been so kind to you, particularly in those days when you were so vulnerable, in your mind, whenever there's a threat, the first thought that comes to you is either your mother or your father. That is the thing, whether you're a believer or non-believer, whether you're Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, Jains, Christians, Jews, Sikhs, Baha'i, it doesn't matter, or non-believers. The first thought that comes to you when there's a threat, as a young child, that comes to you is your father or the mother, or both. Why? Why these two figures come to your mind? Because they've been so kind to you. You know that when I'm in threat, these two will no doubt come to rescue me. So that's the meaning of be kind to yourself. That I should do those things which my parents did to me when I was so vulnerable. What did they do? They were so kind in giving me what I want, giving me the benefit that I want, and taking me away from the threats, taking me away from the fears. So to be kind to yourself means give yourself the benefit and the happiness, and take away, remove the miseries from you. So this is the meaning of be kind to yourself, number one. Number two, be wisely kind to yourself. So this is a very serious question that oftentimes when I say be kind to yourself, then we engage in things which can actually destroy us rather than helping us. So this is in the facade of being kind to yourself, you are being very unkind to yourself because you are being unwisely kind to yourself. Unwise. It's not wise. So wisely kind to yourself means do those things which actually give rise to happiness, and don't do those things which actually give rise to fears and miseries. Okay, this is a basic framework on how we should start to seek the meaning of a life. So what's the meaning of life? Meaning of life is to be wisely kind to yourself. Finally, this is the point. So just see whether you agree with this or not. Or say you just imagine yourself as somebody like a non-believer, or as a Buddhist, or as Hindu, Muslim, Jains, Christians, or Sikhs, or say the non-believers, or as a scientist. Say, put yourself in the shoes and see that if this holds true. Answer is yes, it holds true. Okay, with this, now how to be wisely kind to yourself. So last time, what we did was that we talked about the Four Noble Truths, which the Buddha taught. The Buddha appeared on this earth with all his life experiences of traversing from being a young prince in the palace, he left the palace, seeing all the miseries within the palace, outside palace. So seeing all these miseries, deliberately then he stepped out of the palace to look for a solution. To solve all these problems for everyone. So there, after becoming enlightened, then the first thing that he taught was the Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths as to how to be wisely kind to yourself. And then as for the Four Noble Truths, we already went into great detail about the three turnings wheel of Dharma. The first turning wheel of Dharma, which the Buddha Shakyamuni did in the Varanasi Sarnath. Then second turning wheel of Dharma, which the Buddha Shakyamuni did in Rajgir, Vulture's Peak. And then third turning wheel of Dharma in Vaishali. So this we already go into quite a detail, the detailed form. Okay, now these Four Noble Truths, then we also went to the extent of explaining that when the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths, so that is finally to avoid or to get rid of all the miseries and to acquire all the happiness. This is the whole purpose. For that matter, the Four Noble Truths, what we learned was that, of course, the truth of suffering, the first one, suffering. For example, say, if we give the example of a sick person, the patient, so first the person has to identify what kind of suffering that you're going through, what kind of illness that you're going through. First one is identifying the suffering. Then once you know what the illness is, it is tuberculosis. Then the doctors will help you to identify the cause, or to make it more simple, to make it even more technical, it's fine. Say the doctors will help us to identify that this tuberculosis is not just a random headache, random fever. It's because of the particular bacteria. So the doctor will help us to identify the cause, final cause of this, of the suffering. So number 2 is the cause of suffering, identify the cause of suffering. And then say with the help of the medicines, for example, like isoniazid, rifampicin, and then the ethambutol, these medicines. With the help of these medicines, the doctor prescribes these medicines, and then you can anticipate that once I take these medicines with a complete course, then I'll come to a point where my miseries will come to an end. That look at all the healthy people, I'll become one like them. So that is the state of the cessation of suffering. You can anticipate that your suffering will come to cease. The cessation of suffering will be achieved. This is number 3. So number 4 is, okay, if this is something that can happen, that can possibly happen, but then there must be ways and means by which to achieve that. There must be a way. What is the way to achieve that state of cessation? That way is the medicine, only the medicine. So you have to start taking the medicine. So medicine plays a very important role. That is the path leading to the cessation. These are the 4 truths. Truth of suffering, truth of the cause of suffering, then truth of the cessation of suffering, and the truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. So this is a basic framework of the teachings of the Buddha. So this, though very comprehensive, but we see that it is taught in a very simple way. So this teaching, the Buddha taught in what is known as the 12 recitations. 12 recitations, repetitions or recitations. And these 12 recitations can be broken down into 3 sets. 3 sets. The first set is the teaching of the Four Noble Truths. Teaching of the Four Noble Truths pertaining to identifying the Four Noble Truths. Pertaining to the identification. Pertaining to the identification, the Four Noble Truths. Then once you identify what these Four Noble Truths are, then the next set of the 4 pertaining to the practice related to the Four Noble Truths. After identifying these 4 things, what should I do now? You have to practice. So the next set of 4 is pertaining to the practice related to the Four Noble Truths. Number 2. Then, okay, if I practice it, what will I know? Then in what will help me? Then comes the next set of the 4 repetitions pertaining to the results that you're going to experience because of the practice of the Four Noble Truths. So identifying the Four Noble Truths, and in the practice related to the Four Noble Truths, and then the result that you're going to achieve because of the practice of the Four Noble Truths. So 3 sets, each set 4 each, and as to what these 4 into 3 or 3 into 4, 3 sets into 4. So what they are, I already mentioned this last time. So let me say this again. Pertaining to the identification is very simple. The set of 4 pertaining to identification, the Buddha said, this is the truth of suffering, this is the truth of cause of suffering, this is the truth of the cessation of suffering, and this is the truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. Okay, so this is the first set. So the first set, which seems so simple, but this is where we have to go into so much of details. Okay, just identify the Four Noble Truths. Then the next come the next set of 4, where the Buddha said, the truth of suffering. Once you identify these 4, then what practice should I do? Truth of suffering is to identify. With the truth of suffering, your job is to identify. Truth of the cause of suffering is to be abandoned. Once you identify what the suffering is, then you identify the cause of suffering and abandon the cause of suffering. Truth of the cause of suffering is to be abandoned. truth of the cessation of suffering. What should we do with this? Truth of cessation of suffering is to be actualized. Truth of cessation of suffering is to be actualized. Okay, good. Then the truth number 4. The truth of the path leading to cessation of suffering is to be practiced or is to be meditated upon. So truth of suffering is to be identified. Truth of the cause of suffering is to be abandoned. Truth of the cessation of suffering is to be actualized or is to be attained, actualized. And the truth of the path leading to cessation is to be meditated upon. That is to be meditated, that is to be practiced, so that the truth of cessation can be achieved or attained. Okay, this is number 2. Then number 3. Anyone who remembers number 3? The set of the 4, third set of the 4 pertaining to the result of the practice of the Four Noble Truths. So what are the 4? Anyone? What are the 4 you remember?
While the truth of the suffering is to be identified, there is nothing to be identified.
Okay. Although the truth of suffering is to be identified, there is nothing to be identified. 1. Then the same. You apply the same thing to the remaining 3. Although the truth of the cause of suffering is to be abandoned, there is nothing to be abandoned. Then number 3, although the cessation of suffering is to be actualized, there is nothing to be actualized. And then finally, although the path leading to the cessation is to be meditated upon, there is nothing to be meditated upon. Okay, this is of course, all the 3 sets. The sets of 4, 3 sets of 4 require a detailed explanation. So this is what we covered thus far. So today we're going to go into greater detail with the first set of the 4, that is pertaining to identifying the Four Noble Truths. This is the truth of suffering. When the Buddha said this is the truth of suffering, so there we should be able to identify what exactly does it mean by suffering. For example, let's say that okay, I remember when I was very young, I must be 5 years or 6 years, maybe even younger, maybe 2 or 4 years. So there, I remember, of course, my family, very humble family, and very simple, and no medical facilities then. So I remember my father, very early morning, he would drink the hot water. Very, very, very hot water. I could remember that when I was very young, maybe age, if not 3, 4, 5. I remember that very clearly. Then when I grew older, then I realized that he was actually suffering from tuberculosis. But he had no clue that it was tuberculosis. So the physically becoming weak, coughing, and then the loss of appetite, then the weight loss, all these things were happening. And he thought that there must be some illness there. So by taking this hot water, we'll get it off. So this was what he was thinking. Okay. So there, the point is that unless you identify the suffering so well, then there's no way by which you will look for the cause. If you don't identify what suffering is, then you cannot look for the cause. So to identify the suffering so well is so important. So in this connection, the suffering that we are talking about, that is advised to be identified, we see that it is of 3 kinds. 3 kinds. One which is the manifest, which everybody can easily identify as suffering. A manifest suffering. Okay, I'm just wondering if amongst the participants here, if you have any, let's say, if you like to share with us some examples of the suffering which anybody can easily identify? Anyone? Anyone? Huh? Ill health, illness. So illness is one, yes. Anyone else? Huh? The pain of losing near and dear ones. Very good. Anyone else? No experience? Huh?
Additional problems at work, financial problems, headache, accident. There's a long list.
Okay, so there's a long list of, say, the dissatisfactions, problems, pains, anxiety, stress, all unwanted things. All unwanted things, which anybody can easily identify that as unwanted things. The undesirable experiences, which anybody can identify as undesirable experiences. These are known as the manifest suffering. Technically, it is known as suffering of suffering. Technically, it's known as suffering. So the point is suffering meaning any suffering, any misery, which anybody can easily identify that as suffering. That is one. Number two is known as the suffering change. Suffering change. Okay. Suffering change. Anybody who likes to give an example of the happiness that you consider as happiness? Anybody? Nice clothes, not the bad clothes, right? Okay, nice clothes, right? Okay, enjoying nice clothes, very good. Anyone else?
My son, my daughter are happy. So
okay, seeing, meeting with your son and daughter, it gives such a joy, happiness. Number two, very good.
Getting job,
Okay, you pass the exam, then you get the first job interview, the first job, say the acceptance letter for the job, so much excitement, good. Any other happiness? Okay, we see that again, happiness also, there's a whole list. So what we identify as happiness, in actuality, they are a form of suffering. Right? What we identify as suffering, happiness, is a form of suffering. Right? Okay, so that is known as the suffering of change. Right? Okay. So number two suffering is known as suffering of change. So what we consider as happiness is actually a form of suffering. Okay. So this, and don't take things for granted. Meaning that, okay, he said it, so therefore we have to accept it. Right? Any happiness that we go through, this is a form of suffering. No. We must always have, the openness and the eagerness to ask questions. What do you disagree? You can disagree. You can ask questions. How is the excitement over the new clothes? Excitement over getting new clothes is suffering. How is it suffering? It's not suffering, it's happiness. Right? And how is it that somebody getting a new job, a good job, highly paid job, right? And with less number of hours of job and well paid, how is this suffering? That's not suffering. Okay, so these are questions that are coming up. You're getting it? Okay, so in fact, the point is that hold on. So with the getting new clothes, why is there the happiness?
Because you feel happy, you feel comfortable,
You feel comfortable, and then in the winter in Delhi, right? You get warm clothes, right? Okay, it gives you comfort there, physical comfort there, so it helps us remove the pain of cold. Very good. And then with the okay, say with the new job, right? With no, so was there if you get a new job, were you happy? Hmm?
as a student, I can connect that after passing examination and getting job, like they really do work hard, and after that you get accepted. That is like not the society, but by the government or anything. Then yeah, it's does feel good and it gives us happiness.
So why are you happy with this?
I don't know, the society works like this, so we are forced to be happy.
Okay. So if the person does not pay you anything and you get a good job with the CEO name, you are the CEO of a big company, you are not paid at all.
We are CEO, then we do get paid.
Okay, I'm just creating a scenario. Say you are appointed as a CEO of Google company, right? And your payment is 10,000 rupees per month. Are you happy? Not happy?
I guess somewhere in the middle.
Huh?
Somewhere in the middle.
Why not happy?
Happy as a CEO, but 10,000 bucks, I don't think.
Okay. So there are two things, right? One is
Status is there, but there's no money.
exactly, status is there. Status, we crave for status. We crave for money. Why do we need money?
To live, to sustain.
To live to sustain. What do you mean by live to sustain?
I mean, with money, like practically, if we think, with money we can buy good clothes.
Yes, so why do we need good clothes?
To wear.
Okay, why I'm asking all these questions is that we generally take for granted how the world operates, we flow with this. You're getting it? Now it is high time for us to ask all these questions. Why do you have to do this? Why do you have to follow this? When you ask the questions, okay, why should I have to eat food? Right? Or you all not eat food. Why should I have to eat food? Don't go to the extreme. Ask this question, but do as what you're doing. Continue doing what you're doing, but don't miss to ask these questions. Why do you have to eat food? Sometimes it's very boring. But when I was in school, for me, the moment the bell for the food, the meal rang, I felt so bored. Literally, I mean it. So bored. Again, I have to eat something. You know, it's so boring. Again, I have to go. I don't want to go there. I have to go there. Because with the bell, if you are not there, then you will be, go absent. You'll be punished. So it's so boring. Okay, so why do I have to eat food? Why do I have to wear clothes? Oh, clothes, yes, I have to wear clothes. But why good clothes? Right? I have to eat food, but why expensive food? Right? Say 20,000 is good enough. 20,000 rupees is good enough for enough food, enough clothes, so forth. Why do I need 1 lakh rupees as a CEO? Why? Why more money? Right? Okay. So these are questions that you have to ask. So then we realize that what we consider as happiness, in actuality, it may be a suffering. Right? So don't say that it's suffering so that I will discover all this happiness. Don't go to that extreme. Just continue your life as what you're doing. Meanwhile, don't miss to ask these basic questions. You're getting it? Okay. Say, Okay, tell me, what percentage of the people like gold? Gold, hey, you have no idea what gold is. Almost everyone, right? Except for those people who went to Himalayas to meditate, right? Who gave up everything, go Himalaya, right? Otherwise, 99.9% of people, I would say that they're happy with gold, right? They don't have to wear it, but then with the gold, then new clothes, new food, good house, good cars, whatever, everything can come out of that, right? Okay, so just imagine that somebody chains you with a gold chain, right? Somebody binds you with a gold chain, right? And this gold is yours, right? You are bound by the gold chain and kept it 24 hours like this. Are you happy or not happy? No, this is gold. Everything that is gold. Right? So which the world considers so precious, but it is not precious, it is creating pain on you. Right? This is a very extreme example. It's very precious, what the world considers very precious, but it's creating pain, it's binding you. So gold binding you and ordinary metal binding you, there's no difference. Gold binding you gives you bliss. Gold chain binding you, it gives you bliss. And the ordinary metal binds you, it gives you pain. No, both gives you pain. Right? So the gold is an example of what we consider as happiness, and actually it binds you, it gives rise to pain. So likewise, all what we consider as happiness, they're actually a form of pain. Right? Okay. Imagine that we're all young children. Age 5, age 6, age 5, 6, we're all very young children. And then, how many you like, as a young child, how many you like chocolates? Okay, yes? Right? Okay, we all like chocolates. Okay, as a young child, we like chocolate. And then, the mother will warn you, when you go by yourself, if any stranger gives you chocolate, don't take it. Why not? Chocolate is very nice. Why not? Why your parent is depriving you of the happiness of getting a chocolate from a stranger? Hey, any idea?
If I give you with the wrong intention.
Huh?
The other person is giving you with the wrong intention.
Yes, the person may be giving you with the wrong intention. So the chocolate is the superficial thing. Chocolate is a superficial thing, which is a nice thing. But what is the wrong intention? What could be the wrong intention? To kidnap you? Many reasons, right? With the chocolate, if the person says, hey, come with me, tell me. So amongst the young children, which of the two groups, which of two cases, the children will be drawn more towards the strangers. Just as strangers says, hey, the young children, come with me, I'll take you to picnic. And the other stranger bring him with chocolate, bag of chocolate. Hey, all the children come, I'll give you chocolates. Which of the two groups do you think will go towards the stranger more? Those who are shown the chocolates? Yes. Why with the chocolate the children are drawn more? Why? Because children like the chocolate. If people come up with the rotten chocolate, very, or rotten food or rotten apple, totally rotten, badly smelling apple, and show this, hey, come, I'll give you apple. The children, will they go? They will not go. Which is better, if they go or if they don't go, which is better? Don't go, that is safer. You're getting it? So what makes the children go? Fresh apple or rotten apple? Fresh apple. Why is the fresh apple? They like it. You're getting it? So therefore, there's more danger, a danger with the fresh apple, with the fresh chocolate, not as much with the rotten apple or the rotten chocolate. Because with the fresh chocolate, fresh apples, then the children like it. Like it means they feel happy. So happiness is the one which can attract all the miseries in consequence. Happiness is the one which brings all the miseries in consequence. That is the door to all the miseries. Whereas if somebody brings, say, a knife, here come, I'll give you a knife. Right, with a knife, they may come to stab you. Right, children will run away. Right, so therefore the threat is much less. Whereas with the apple, fresh toys, and this something which is appealing, that is one which can hook the children, which can trap the children. So, in other words, there is what is known as the bait. Bait. Say the bait. What is bait? Anyone? What is bait?
Some food which is used, very attractive food used to trap animals.
Okay, attractive food. Okay, attractive food meant to attract the animals, right? Same. The bait should be delicious or should be rotten?
Delicious.
Huh? No, delicious one is expensive. You can use a very cheap one. The rotten one.
Look delicious.
Huh?
You can make it look delicious.
Okay, although actually not delicious, make it look delicious, but the animals are also very wise. Right? So you want to put a delicious one or not delicious one? No, delicious ones are expensive. So why do you have to spend so much money? So the job is to attract the animal. To attract the animal, you have to spend a little bit. Right? If you don't spend, then you only get the cheap ones. Cheap ones, the animals will not be attracted. So the bait is something which is delicious, which the animals like, which the animals feels happy about. You're getting it? Now, if you come to realize that if we all as small children, if you come to realize that one day a stranger came to give you chocolates and somebody went with a stranger and the child disappears. And then your mother was so worried, and the mother of the child, the disappeared child, so worried, crying, and then your mother see you and saying that you are intact. The mother hugs you and tells you what happened. Then the stranger came and gave the chocolate and he went away and disappeared. Then the mother will tell you, in future, don't ever do that. Don't ever go after the chocolate given by the strangers. So next time, if a stranger comes with chocolate, what will you feel? Do you feel this as a chocolate or as a bait?
Bait.
You will see this as a bait. Okay. Now, if you see it's a bait, is that nice or not nice?
Not nice.
Okay, which is more delicious? Bait is more delicious or the other chocolate is more delicious? Huh? Bait, chocolate used as a bait, and the fresh chocolate in the shop. Which is more delicious? Huh? Equally delicious. But one is bait and one is not. You're getting it? One is bait and one is not. So, which means that both are equally delicious, but one, as the girl over there said, that behind that there is bad intention. So this intention to harm you, not to give you joy. Give you joy to lure you and then eventually to put you into harm. So overall, so this bait, the joy may be 5% and the misery that you get is 95%. So 95 minus 5 is 90% suffering. Right? So as a child, when you see a stranger now, next time coming with the chocolate, you will run away because you could see 90% suffering. You're getting it? You don't see this as a chocolate, you see this as a bait. So therefore, this is how, so all what we see as happiness, they are like the bait in actuality. Right? So for that matter, we have to identify that. We have to identify that bait as a bait. Yet at the same time, it doesn't mean that, okay, now all happiness that we experience, it is like a bait and we have to run away from this happiness. No, this is also not the point. Right? The point is, when does it serve as a bait? When does that serve as a bait? Is that when you are trapped by this, when the craving grows. When the craving grows, then it becomes a bait. When the craving grows. So it gives rise to the craving, and the craving is the one which voluntarily, you voluntarily get trapped there. That is the craving, right? Okay, so the point is that suffering will change, meaning all the happiness that we experience is going to suffering to change, and so then it's so self-denial. Then you deny the happiness of the world, then your life can become very boring. Nobody wants suffering, and even the happiness that you get, little happiness that you get, even that you say is suffering. So life becomes so boring. What do you do now? Okay, no, this is not the point. The point is that we're looking for a transcendental happiness, right? Happiness that we get, it is a very trivial happiness. In other words, it's a very trivial. We're looking for a transcendental happiness. What does it mean by transcendental happiness? This is so important. This is so important. Let's say that one person is chained with the ordinary metal chain. Other person is chained with the golden chain, right? Bound with the golden chain. And both of them are kept like this for like, say, 15 days. With a hardly, very few scraps of bread and some water, and then just sit like this. Okay, which is more happy? 15 days you are bound, Say other person bound with the ordinary chain, and you are bound with the golden chain. Which is more happy? Same. You're getting it? Same. So somebody who can see all these happiness, they are like the chain, they are like the bait for you. For you, you see that this is actually like an imprisonment. So this is the one which traps you. The bait, they trap the fish to the hook, right? So the hook is able to catch the fish because of the bait. Likewise, what we see as happiness, they are like the bait. So they're like the golden chain. Looks nice, but actually it chains us. Okay. So next question is, in what way it chains us? This is the question. In what way it chains us? Okay. Okay, let's say okay. Okay, anyone who has to share with us has to say what food or what edible do you like most? Anyone? You don't like anything? Oh, that's amazing. Huh?
I like broccoli and mushroom.
Broccoli and mushroom. Raw or cooked?
Cooked.
Good. Okay. Cooked broccoli and mushroom. Good. Anyone else? Yes.
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream? Anything's fine. Huh?
Vanilla.
Vanilla ice cream. Okay, very good. Anyone else? Chocolate cake. Wow. Kamala? Okay, you like simple food. Okay. There's also one thing, yes. I also nowadays, maybe because of my age, I prefer the simple food. When I was younger, I prefer the masala food. Right. Okay, anyone else? Momos. Okay. Okay, so let's say chocolate cake, right? Okay, how many of you like chocolate cakes? Raise your hands. Okay, it's not just one, it's almost all. Okay, it's fine. So it's your birthday, so we bring 10 kg of chocolate cake for you. 10 kg. First small piece, you like it, you ate, you enjoyed it. First piece, small piece, you like it very much. Second piece, third piece, fourth piece. That 10 kg, hey, it's for you. Right? I bought it for you. Then the 20th piece. No, I'm full, please, no. No, you have to eat it. You eat it, then you throw up. Right? Okay, first piece is more delicious or 20th piece is more delicious? Okay, first piece is more delicious. First piece we will keep the last. Right, the 20th piece you eat first. Then after when your stomach's full, yeah, okay, now I'm so excited with the first piece. I'm still kept it there. You eat it, it's the same. What otherwise would give you so much excitement and happiness, now it is no more giving you happiness, it makes you throw up. You're getting it? So what earlier seemed to be happiness has now changed into suffering. Suffering change. What earlier you experienced, what earlier you would experience or you would otherwise experience as happiness has now changed into suffering. It's the same object.
It seems like in a relationship, like a husband and wife, first they are very happy, and later it seems like a suffering, and they go divorce.
Okay, that's complicated. Okay. Okay. Let's say we need to look for the nuances. You're getting it? We need to know the nuances. For example, say somebody shows you a chocolate cake. Wow, I've been anticipating for the last 2 years. Finally, I'm getting it. And you eat it. No, right? It is a rotten chocolate cake. It appears as nice. In actuality, it is rotten. There's another one which appears as nice and actually is nice, fresh. There are two. You're getting it? So the first one is purely deceptive. Right? First one is purely deceptive. Second one is correct. Although it is correct, although it is valid, within that still there are some limitations, still there are some drawbacks there. You keep eating it, then it makes you throw up. With the first one, you eat it, the first bite, it makes you throw up. You're getting it? So usually relationships, boys and girls together, they see like a coated chocolate, and then actually meet, then you see the inside. Right? Then the next day fight, or after 1 week fight, or after 1 month fight. So that is a total deception. Total deception. Whereas say like a meeting with the fresh chocolate cake, likewise, say the both sides are good, and you see somebody as good and you meet, and then it's good. Right? And then day one, although both sides are good, let's say, both sides are good. And day one you talk, how are you, how's your dad, how's your mom, and what is your best place to go, right? Oh, I like to go to Hawaii, I like to go to Goa. Fine. Tomorrow also you meet, hey, how are you, what's your best place to go? And third again, how are you, what is your best place to go, what's your best food? Fourth day again, what's your best food? Then, it's so boring, right? The moment the first time somebody asks you like this, what's your best place? You also become excited. Fourth time, the same thing, repeat over and over again. Fourth time, you said, please don't say this again. You're getting it? Now what earlier brought so much excitement has now brought you boredom, right? Frustration. So that is suffering change. So that is even with respect to something which is valid, not deceptive. You're getting it? Okay, that's true. What you said is correct. Correct? Okay, so suffering change, this is something that we have to really explore. And then it doesn't mean that, okay, now from tomorrow onwards, no broccoli and mushroom food, right? No cheesecake, they're all suffering change, they're all suffering. No, just enjoy whatever you're enjoying. Enjoy whatever you're enjoying. But don't miss to ask this question. Right? That I learned that this is a form of suffering. In what way this is a suffering? Don't miss to ask this question. If I ask you, what do you want? in your life. What is the purpose of life? What do you want? I want happiness. You getting it? What degree of happiness do you want? If possible, 100%. If possible, 100%. How many agree with me? If possible, 100% happiness is what I'm seeking. Yes, we all seek this, 100%. Thus far, so you may be in your 20s or 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Thus far, have you experienced a happiness which is not 100% happiness, where I don't suffer, I don't have any experience in miseries anymore? Did you ever experience such happiness? Okay, no. Thus far, no. Can I achieve that? This question. You're getting it? Can I achieve that? Yes. If there is something of what is known as 100% happiness, that is known as the transcendental happiness. Happiness that transcends the ordinary happiness. Ordinary happiness means happiness which comes and goes. Happiness which comes and goes, right? Which is not reliable. But what I want is I want 100% happiness. Happiness which transcends. You have chocolate cake, you are happy. You don't have chocolate cake, you are happy, even more happy. That I'm happy that you don't make me fat now. Right? Okay. If you have money, you are happy. If you don't have money, that's also fine. With the money, all these complications, fights, and all these things happen. Right? Okay. If you have position, you are happy. If you don't have position, that is also happy. That is known as the transcendental happiness, where any moment can trigger happiness. The moments which will otherwise give rise to miseries to us can actually trigger happiness. That is known as the transcendental happiness. So the question is, how can we achieve that? How can we achieve that? You're getting it? Okay. So this is something which is very important. For that matter, first, to really achieve such a high level of the happiness where 24/7 you are happy, to achieve that level, we have to first, for example, say in your house, if there are so many, say the garbages, so much garbage here in your house, and you want to furnish the house so well, beautifully. First what do you have to do? You have to throw away the garbage, empty the house, and then furnish this with the fresh, the what do you call it? Furnish new furnitures, right? Okay, so first we have to remove the garbage. So what we think as happiness, which is actually a garbage, suffering of change. Suffering of change, you have to identify that this suffering of change, clinging should stop to this. The moment you identify that as suffering, then you don't cling to that anymore. If you don't cling to it anymore, then it leaves room for that transcendental happiness. You getting it? Okay, this is very important. Okay, now number 3, suffering, third kind of suffering. That is known as pervasive conditioned suffering. Third kind of suffering will tell us how can we achieve the 100% happiness. How can we achieve the 100% happiness? Reliable happiness. Okay. So for this, third kind of suffering is known as pervasive conditioned suffering. For example, say, if you get a flower, you are happy. Right? If you don't get a flower, also makes you happy. How? Because if for example, if it's a real flower, then in 2-3 days time, it will wither away, and then it becomes garbage. Again, you have to dump it. Right? It's extra work. So when I don't have really time to do all these small things, so therefore without the flower is better, so that I can continue to work. And if there's a flower, again it's happy. It's very nice. That it's so pleasant to look at the flower, to start the day fresh with the joy of looking at the flower. Okay, how can we make it happen? How can we make it happen? To have 24/7 happiness, right? So this is object does not determine whether you're going to be happy, not happy, right? For some people, when there's flower, you're happy. When there's no flower, you are unhappy. For some people, there's the flower, they're unhappy. There's no flower, they're happy. You're getting it? So the objects determines whether you're happy or not. Which means your happiness is not in your hand, it is in the hand of the object. Which means you don't have the freedom to choose your happiness. The happiness is not in your hand, you don't have the freedom. Your happiness is decided by the object. The more your happiness is decided by the object, the more vulnerable you are. The more vulnerable you are, weaker you are. Weaker you are less happy. Right? So the happiness, why should we let the external objects decide your happiness? Why don't we make the happiness your own happiness? Why you let the external objects decide happiness for you? Right? Okay, for this matter, this very important point. So, the more what if somebody asks you, what do you mean by an evolved person? What do you mean by an evolved person? I'm not talking about spiritual, I'm talking about evolved person. Somebody who's so evolved. Meaning somebody who's very happy. What make you, what is that? What are some indications? One indication is that the more you are independent, the more your happiness is independent of the external factors, that person is more evolved. The more your happiness is dependent on the external factors, that person is less evolved. Right? Okay, same. Birthday, nobody comes, right? Nobody comes to greet you, nobody comes with gifts. What will you feel? Oh no, I'm a very unfortunate person, maybe I'm very bad, nobody came. This is one way of approach. Another approach is that everybody's so unkind. They even don't, they are not even kind enough to greet me even on my birthday. Number two is that I must be so bad that nobody comes. Right? Okay. And number three is I'm very lucky that nobody came. Otherwise, usually on my birthday, I take days off, then I take a little extra nap. Right? If they continue to come to my house, I'll not get time to rest myself. I'm lucky that nobody came. Different ways of approach. It's the same object, but the same object that people don't turn up for your birthday. So the same thing is a source of happiness for some, it's a source of misery for others. It's the same object. There must be a third factor which is different in these two cases because the outcome is different. When the outcome is different, the factor must be different, but the external factor is the same. So there must be another factor which is different. So what is the other factor? Internal, right? Your internal thinking, that differs. External is the same, right? External is the same, internal is different. Internal thing is different. Okay, now we come to realize from this is something which we never learn, generally speaking. Generally speaking, this is never a part of the subject that you learn from the academic institutions. We never learn that. How to make more money, this is what we learn. How to get a better job, right? And how to get a placement. And how to get promotion. Right? Okay, how to get the package holiday gift, right? This is what we learn. We never learn that happiness is not necessarily external. External factors are there, but external factors alone does not determine your happiness. There's an internal factor here. This is what we have never learned. It's so important for your own good to learn this. Otherwise, we are bound to go through the different phases of a life. Different phases of life, right? Sometimes happy, sometimes unhappiness, sometimes acute miseries. Like the pain of losing near and dear ones is so acutely painful. right? So there, say, what is the third factor? External factor may not necessarily is not the only factor. There's a third factor responsible for giving rise to happiness or giving rise to miseries. Third factor, what is that? Internal thinking. So once you identify that, then you are discovering two things: external factor and internal factor. Right? Two things. Okay. So for the two things, for the two factors, then this example would be extremely helpful. Sound of a clap. This sound of a clap. This sound of a clap, say, analogous to the miseries that we go through. So the miseries that we go through, they are like the sound of a clap. This sound of a clap invariably arises when the two hands come into contact. Likewise, the miseries that we go through is also because of the external factor and the internal factor. Two factors. Right? And external factors, you can do anything. Either you remove the external factor or you remove the internal factor. Of the two hands, if you remove right hand, then with the left hand, the sound stops. Even with the left hand moving so fast, there's no sound. Or you remove the left hand, and then with the right hand, however strong, the sound stops, there is no sound. So whatever works, just fine. There's no hard and fast rule to say that you have to remove the internal factor, so you have to be kind, you have to be good, you have to be disciplined, you should be, say, the enthusiastic, you should be positive. No, there's no hard and fast rule, right? So if by remove the external factors, if you're able to remove the external factors and then internal factors are there, still the sound is not there. Finally, the aim, the goal is, don't forget the goal. The goal is to stop the sound of the miseries, right? And then if you remove the internal factor instead of the external factor, again the sound stops. So you can do it in any way you like, whichever way it works. Go for it. But the reality, let us explore. External factors. Can we remove the external factors? Huh? Can we remove the external factors? No? Okay, if it is Delhi in the month of December 6th, today's what? December 7th, little cold. The cold is external, internal? External. We can remove the external by putting on the heating system or putting on the layers of clothes. So we are tackling the external factors. You're getting it? So we can remove the external factors. Okay, how many such external factors are there? How many external factors are there? Ajirji, how many external factors are there? Infinite external factors are there, infinite. So if you are to think of getting rid of the external factors one by one, there are innumerable, million, billion, trillion, and infinite external factors are there. Your lifespan is too short. Your lifespan is too short. Even the external factors, you think that external factors are removed, remove the external factor becomes another factor. Remove the external factor becomes another external factor. Right? How many you feel when you're by yourself? How many you feel very happy when you're by yourself? You say that, no. Alright, I'm feeling so lonely. And okay, now I will remove the external factor, I'll put you with the other people. You'll say, I have no privacy. You're getting it? So there we see that, say, the external factor, even the removal of the external factor becomes another factor, external factor. So literally impossible to get rid of all the external factors. So if the external factors cannot be gotten rid of, then, okay, this is what we usually do. Okay, some of you already know what I do. Okay, those of you who don't know what I do, you pay attention and give me an answer. Okay, how many of you can do mathematical calculation? Raise hands. Simple ones. I promise, not big ones. Plus minus only, and take to the number below 5. Raise hands, those who can do the mathematical calculation. Plus minus and below 5. Okay. Do the mathematical calculation and give an answer. Only when I ask you what is the answer. Otherwise, don't give an answer. You ready? Okay. 2 plus 2. I said, give me the answer only when I ask you what's the answer. You're getting it? Okay. You ready? You ready? 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 minus 1 plus 3 minus 2 plus 1. What's the answer?
8.
Wow, it's amazing. Wonderful. It's amazing. Okay, now let us do a similar. I promise I'll not complicate it more, if not less. Let's do it again. Ready? Be serious. Or give me an answer only when I ask you. Okay, ready? 2 plus 2 plus 3 plus minus plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 minus 1 plus 2 plus 3 minus 1 plus 2 plus 3 minus 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3. What's the answer? No answer? You gave a beautiful answer the first time. Why could you not give the answer the second time? Why not? Huh? No. Somebody who doesn't know me. They go over there. Huh? Louder through the mic. Okay, so whose mistake? My mistake. Okay, anyone else? So she says that I said it too fast. Anyone else? Why you cannot give the answer? How many agree with her that you said it too fast? Raise your hands. Okay. So which means you point to the external factor, right? So your mind does not work so fast. You do not say that my calculation is so slow. You do not say this. You say you are fast. Right? External factor is fast, internal factor is very slow. You're getting it? You do not point to the internal factor. You point to the external factor. You're so fast. You didn't say that my mind is very slow. You didn't say this. This is how our mind works. We always look for external factors. We always point a finger to the external factors. And don't forget it. Pointing your finger to external factors is so bad. No, don't say this. I said it. Finally, your job is to get rid of your miseries. Don't forget it. By pointing your finger to the external factors, if the suffering goes to 0, do it. There's no hard and fast rule. Don't force yourself to be gentle, kind, I should not be harming others. No, why should you force to do that? Finally, your job is don't forget your main agenda. What are the two main agenda? Be kind to yourself and be wisely kind to yourself. Do anything that makes you happy, go for it. Right? So the reason why we should be good is that by doing good, you get happiness. Not that you have to do it because the God says it, because the Buddha says it. You getting it? So the point is that do those things which will actually give rise to happiness. So by pointing finger to the external factors, if that gives rise to happiness, go for it. Whereas if it creates more problems, don't do it. By pointing finger towards the internal factor, if it helps you to remove your suffering, go for it. By pointing finger to the internal factors, if the misery multiplies, don't do it. You're getting it? This is a benchmark. If somebody asks you what is good, what is bad, right? But there's nothing as the intrinsic good, intrinsic bad. Anything, you do anything that gives rise to you, that multiplies your happiness, go for it. By blaming others, if you get more, your happiness multiplies, go for it. By blaming inside, if your happiness multiplies, go for it. You're getting it? Now, what we realize is that, okay, this is amazing. So there's no hard and fast rule to say that these are the codes of conduct that you have to do. You have to do it because this is dictated by the Constitution, dictated by the Buddha, dictated by God. No. Right? The thing is, what's the benchmark? What's the Constitution? The Constitution is that anything that makes your happiness multiply, do it. That is virtue. Anything that makes your miseries multiply, don't do it. These are non-virtues. Right? That's the benchmark. On that basis, experientially, see. So what we have learned thus far, if that's the case, then happiness, miseries, they arise from the two factors. What are the two factors? External factors and the internal factors. And the external factors for the miseries, external factors, how many such external factors are there? Infinite external factors are there. If you want 100% happiness, if you only think of the external factors, you have to get into the infinite external factors, which is totally impractical. You're getting it? It's totally impractical. So now, okay, I'm seeking 100% happiness. If the 100% happiness is to be achieved by removing the external factors, that is impossible. If this is the only way, by removing the external factors, you can expect to get 100% happiness. This is never the case. Why? 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 Because the external factors are too infinite that we cannot possibly eradicate all the external factors. Now, if there's a possibility for infinite happiness, what's the only choice left? To get rid of the internal factor. So you're getting it? Internal factor. So therefore, there's a reason for us to internalize your reflections, to internalize your actions, rather than blaming outside, rather than always pointing a finger outside. It's not that it's the dictate, it's not the dogma. It's not that somebody has dictated that is what that you have to do. No, it's for your own benefit. Be kind to yourself, be wisely kind to yourself. With these two basic principles of my own life, I have to look for internal factor to get an internal, not external. With external, I cannot think of getting into all the external factors. It's impossible. But it doesn't mean they ignore the external factors. No. Immediate and long-term plan. Immediate plan, long-term plan. Make two plans for your happiness. Immediate plan is, for example, say if there's a cold, right? If there's a long-term plan to achieve the total freedom, total happiness, that will take a long time. That will take a long time. So till you achieve that level, you also need happiness. You don't want suffering. So for that matter, you go for the means which will immediately get rid of the miseries and so forth. For example, with the cold, put on more layers of clothes, put on the heating system, external factors, right? But don't expect that with this external factor, now throughout your future lifetimes, you will never have cold anymore. It's just a temporary relief. Go for it. It's not the ultimate solution. It's the temporary solution. Right? Ultimate solution is, say, even with the acute cold outside the air, acute low temperature outside the air, that your mind is not affected. So that will, to achieve that state, you will take a long time. So that's known as a long-term plan. So short-term plan is before you achieve that long-term plan, long-term benefit, what we have to do is we have to tackle the external, internal both in whatever capacity. Keep in mind that this is just a temporary solution. This is just a respite that will move forward. You're getting it? Okay. So with this, the external factors are to be taken care of, but don't expect that I can get into all the external factors completely. Right? So when you're cold, for example, in the night, don't go out by yourself. Right? Make sure that you are in a safe place. So likewise, when you go to a stranger's, say, the unknown place, don't just go to any kind of hotel or restaurant and eat food, right? You have to make sure that the food that you eat is something healthy. It's all tackling external factors. Okay, so this is something which we need to keep in mind. With this, same for a long-term plan to get the lasting happiness. Sorry, to get the lasting happiness. What should we be doing? We should stop the suffering. How to stop the suffering completely? The sound the clap. Sound the clap analogous to the suffering. So external factor, impossible to get rid of completely. So only if there's a possibility is get rid of the internal factor completely. Remove the internal factor completely. Just with the external factor, however strong, the temperature outside may be like minus 20 degree, minus 40 degrees centigrade. For example, Arctic Circle, Antarctic Circle may be going to minus 60, minus 50. And then if you go to, say, the Pluto and so forth, maybe minus 100 or minus 200, minus 300, minus 1000 degrees centigrade, right? So though the external factors like this, but you are not affected, that your mind is not affected by the external factors. So that is known as working with the long-term plan. How? No matter how strong the external factor is, how strong the other hand is, internal factor is zero, no sound, the sound stops, your misery stops. So this is the long-term plan. Okay, if this is the case, then what would be your next question? Anyone? So that's why what I said is that we can achieve 100% happiness, but 100% happiness, 0% suffering is, keep in mind, the sound of a clap, where the sound of a clap is zero. How are they make this external factor zero or the internal factor zero? To make external factor zero is impossible, right? So only possibility is to make the internal factor zero. So this is what I said. So what would be your next question? Anyone?
How to make it zeros?
Huh?
How to make the internal factors become to zero, narrow down to zero?
Very good. Okay, so your question, I may break it down to two. One is, what are the internal factors? Then number two, how to make it zero. Right? Okay, what are the internal factors and how to make it zero? Okay, there, this is extremely important point, and some of you may be able to get it, some of you may be able to find at least some feeling of wonder is amazing, and some of you may not really get it at this point. Doesn't matter. Okay, let's say happiness and unhappiness, suffering, pain inside. So this is the experience of the feelings. You getting it? The feelings. For example, some people, they go through acute pain, physical pain due to some illness, right? Terminal illness. So there, the last resort is what? Morphine, right? Morphine to cut down the pain. And this has an acute side effect. So these people, acute pain, they cannot bear it. They cannot bear this acute pain. So we have to resort to the morphine and so forth. Okay, now, believe it or not, one discovery that we should make is that this acute pain is a feeling. Don't forget it. It's a feeling, unbearable feeling. You cannot bear it. Acute pain, there's feeling. This feeling is very closely related to the perception. This is so important thing that we need to learn. This feeling is related to the perception, right? Okay, let's say, let me give you one example. Say, say you have lost your brother or sister for the last like 20 years. You're separated from your brother or sister. You love your brother, you love your sister so much for the last, say, so much, and then at childhood you are separated for any reasons. And then, so meanwhile, say you're already now like 25 or 30, and you are into a job, and the job, the boss is not so kind, right? Always the being very rude to you. The moment you see your boss, just by the perception of the boss, it brings agitation. Does it happen? How many, even though it may not have happened to you, can you imagine that this can possibly happen? Okay, if you can imagine this can possibly happen, raise your hands. If you can imagine that this can possibly happen, when the boss is so rude for so many the days, months, years, then you will reach to a saturation point where the moment you see the boss, you become so uptight, unhappy, right? And one day, your brother, who you love so much, your brother comes in the same suit as your boss. Right? Suddenly you see your brother and you think this is your boss. What happens to your body reaction? It becomes upright. No, upright. You think that it's your boss. Right? And then your brother says, hey, what happened to you? This was not your boss style. What happened to my boss? He's, today is very different. Then you realize it's my brother. Again, there's a change, there's a shift in the perception. Perception from my boss to my very loving brother. You're getting it? What happens to your body's tightness? It relaxes. You're getting it? Perception instantly changes your feelings. Perception changes your feelings. This is so important. If they are psychologists, they must learn this. If they're clinical psychologists, psychotherapists, they must learn this. That people who are going through tension, depression, anxiety and so forth, is a feeling, unpleasant feeling. So that feeling is determined by a set of the perceptions. If you're able to change the perception, the feeling can be changed. You're getting it? So the feelings, perceptions play a very important role. So having said that, imagine that you're dreaming. Okay, you're dreaming of a thief chasing you. You're dreaming of a thief chasing you. By the way, how many of you ever dreamt of thief, robber, or somebody chasing you in your life? How many of you dreamt of such things? Okay, if you dreamt of that, imagine that you are dreaming of the thief chasing you. And your friend, other person, dreamt of the mother bringing the birthday gift. Which dream is more pleasant? Obvious. Your friend's dream is more pleasant, your dream is just terrible. But these two dreams, they share one thing in common. Something is there in common. What's that? Huh? Okay, both the dreams is one. Anyone else who likes to make it?
Both are not real.
Both are not real. Then? Okay, both are not real. Both are coming from the mind. Yes. Anything else? Okay. Okay, let's say. Okay. This is not a real flower. This is a plastic flower. I mean it. I'm not joking it. Right? Is this real or not real flower? Not real flower. You're getting it? Okay, what's the difference? You seeing this as this is not real flower, and another person who thinks that this is a real flower, you're both seeing a flower. And you see this as?
Fake.
a fake flower, not real flower. Other person sees this as real flower. You're getting it? Okay. In both cases, it's not real. What's the difference between these two things? These two people. One sees this as a real, one sees this as not real. What's the difference? Huh? In both cases, the object is not real, right? But the perception is different. One sees this as real, one sees this as not real. So likewise, in these two dreams, what is one thing which is common? What you all said is correct. I'm looking for something else. I'm looking for a very precise answer. The dream is not real. That is true. Both are dream. This is also true. And what else was said? Both are coming from a mind. That's also true.
Believe that the dream is true.
Both believe that what they dream is true. You're getting it? Deception is there. Deception is the subject. That both, oh, my mother coming with a gift, I'm so happy. My mother is not your mother, it's your dream mother. Dream mother is not your mother, right? And that robber is chasing me. That's not the robber. This is a dream robber. Dream robber is not a robber. In both cases, that's a deception there. Deception there. That is the commonality between these two things, right? Okay. Then there's the commonality, which is extremely profound. I don't know whether you can guess. Anybody who can guess? There's another commonality between these two things. Anyone? Okay. If I tell you, I'm sure you'll agree with me. How many of you prefer to have the second dream? The mother bringing the gift for you. And not the first one, the burglar chasing you. How many of you prefer that dream? The mother giving gift as opposed to the burglar chasing you. How many prefer that? Hey. Okay. And how many of you are going to have this dream tonight? How many of you are going to have the dream that the mother giving gift and not the, oh, the burglar chasing is very boring, it's very scary, I will not have this dream. Okay, how many are going to not have this burglar chasing you tonight? This dream. How many of you are not going to have this dream? No. My question is not how many of you don't like. This is not my question. My question is how many of you are not going to have this dream? No? Why not? Because it's not a pleasant dream.
Not in control.
Because you don't have the control. This dream is not created by your will. It is not out of your will that you created this. Right? You have no control over the dream. No control means you have the loss of freedom. You don't have the freedom to choose the dream. Loss of freedom. Although your mind created this, but you don't have the freedom to choose what to create. Right? That's loss of freedom. So you create something and that affects you. That creates fear in you. That is deceptive. You create this is deceptive and that affects you. And you don't have the freedom to choose that. Loss of freedom is misery. Misery is samsara. The worst of the suffering, the worst of the misery is loss of freedom. So that you don't have the freedom to choose the dream. That is a problem. You're getting it? That is a loss of freedom. That is suffering. That is a common thing between two. Even though it's a very pleasant dream, you don't have the freedom to choose that. Even if it's a pleasant dream, there's a problem. What's the problem? That you don't have the freedom to choose this dream. It happens, and next time any other dream can happen. So that is a loss of freedom. Even with a pleasant dream, there's a problem. What's the problem? That you don't have the freedom to choose that dream. Loss of freedom. Loss of freedom, misery. This is so important. This is a very profound philosophy. And if you really understand what it means, what is happening now is like a dream. And yet, we don't have the freedom to choose this dream. Right? Loss of freedom. Even with the cheesecake that we're enjoying, that's also like a dream. We don't have the freedom to choose that. You're getting it? Okay. Now with this, what decides? Internal factors decide what dreams to happen. So that is not in your hand. Right? Same in the dream. What we said is that deception is one thing which is common between the two dreams, good dream and the pleasant dream, pleasant and the bad dream. The deception is the common factor. Likewise, deception, ignorance within us, that is the internal factor. That is the internal factor which gives you the internal factor. External factor is always there. The deception inside. Deception or the ignorance. That is the internal factor. As long as this ignorance is there, same in the dream. As long as you see the dream as real, seeing the dream as real, is that ignorance or this is wisdom? This ignorance. As long as you have this ignorance, you will never be free from the dream. And you have no choice. You cannot choose what the dream is. So loss of freedom is always there as long as you see the dream as real. So how to get out of this? Remove this ignorance. When will you remove the ignorance? When will you remove the ignorance of the dream?
When you wake up.
When will you remove the ignorance of the dream?
When you get awake.
When you wake up. Right? You wake up. All what happened there. My mother bringing the birthday gift and the burglar chasing me, they're all just coming from my mind. They are not real. When you realize that they are not real, then you are freed from the loss of freedom. Free from the loss of freedom. Right? Because then now the dream cannot dictate on you because you're already waking up. It's for this reason that we have to okay, same. Seeing the dream as dream. That happens in the dream or outside the dream? Seeing the dream as dream. It happens inside the dream or outside the dream?
Outside.
Seeing the dream as real happens inside the dream or outside the dream? Inside the dream. Seeing the dream as real, is that ignorance or wisdom? Ignorance. As long as you are in the dream, you are in the ignorance. With the ignorance, the fear comes. The ghost chasing you, the burglars chasing you, that fear comes in the dream. That's because of the ignorance. So when do you realize the dream as not real? Inside or outside dream? Outside. Seeing the dream as not real, is that wisdom or ignorance? Wisdom. With the wisdom, then you say, fear gone. With the wisdom, fear dissolves. With ignorance, fear increases. Fear grows. You getting it? So therefore, what is that? The factor which attracts the fear? Ignorance. This ignorance is inside you or outside? Inside. That is the internal factor. Ignorance is inside. That is the internal factor. That is the internal factor. Coming in contact with the external, then the sound of misery arises. Right? Okay. So now internal factor, this ignorance, seeing the dream is real, then this tries to, the dream gift as real gift, then there's a craving arising. The dream burglar as very scary, then aversion arises. So all these afflictions arise out of this ignorance. With this affliction, then what happens? You go to grab the cake, then you run away from you fight with the ghost, you fight with the robber, right? So these karmas are accumulated. Same, ignorance gives rise to the afflictive thoughts. Afflictive thoughts make you to engage in the negative karmas. Negative karmas will give rise to miseries, the pains. So this is how we go to samsara. Now, finally, if you don't want the suffering from what we have learned thus far, finally, in the last say, if you don't want the suffering, what should we be doing? You should remove the ignorance. You should remove the ignorance. How to remove the ignorance?
Awakening.
By awakening. You're getting by awakening. It is for this reason that the Buddha Shakyamuni is referred to as the fully awakened one. Buddha Shakyamuni is referred to as the fully awakened one. You're getting it? Okay, so now from this what we've learned is the external factors. There are so many external factors. What do we learn now? What's the internal factor we have discovered today? Ignorance, right? Ignorance, seeing the dream as real. Okay, now look at the other person sitting next to you. Okay, so how does the other person appear to you? As real or as like a dream? How does the person appear to you? Huh? As real. You're getting it? Okay, other person is seen like, okay, how many of you have watched movie in the movie theater? How many of you have watched movie in the movie theater? Okay, all of us. Okay, let's say say you are watching a movie here. Where is this movie coming from? Where is this movie coming from? Projector. Where's the projector? Huh? In the movie theater. Hey, don't think of in the small hall. In the movie theater. Movie projector. If you have no clue, which means you have not watched movie in the movie theater. Behind you. You getting it? The projector is behind you. So the movie is on the screen, but the movie is not from the screen, it's from the projector. You getting it? The movie is on the screen, but it's not from the screen, it's from the projector. Okay, so all these things that the dream, when you dream of the mother bringing with the gift for you, so that when you wake up, right, that dream gift that you're getting, that dream gift was coming from your mind or coming from the mother? Huh? When you wake up, oh, it was coming from your mind. In your dream, it was coming from your mother, right? When you wake up, you realize it's not coming from the mother, it's coming from my mind. Likewise, okay, let's say, this flower, how do you see this flower? Coming from my hand or coming from your mind? How do you see this? Coming from my hand. This is deceptive. In actuality, it is in my hand, but it's not from my hand. The movie is on the screen, it's not from the screen. It's from where? From the projector. The movie is from the projector. Likewise, the flower is in my hand, it's not from my hand. It's from the projector, like your mind. Right? Everything is actually projection of your own mind. In the dream, if you're dreaming, actually you're in a bed, you're sleeping, and you dreamt of attending Tibetan's class, and in the dream I show you this flower, and then I tell you that this flower is actually a dream. Would you believe in me? Would you believe in the dream? Huh? You wouldn't believe that. No, it's coming from your mind. Still you will not believe in it. No, you're joking. Right? When you wake up, then you realize that what he said in the dream was correct. It's not from his hand, it's from my mind. You're getting it? Only when you wake up, you realize that what you saw was deceptive. As long as you don't wake up, you will not trust me. Likewise, this flower is, although it is in my hand, but it's not from my hand. Although the movie is on the screen, it's not from the screen, it's from the projector. Likewise, the flower is in my hand, but it's not from the hand. It's from where? From your mind. But you see this flower is coming from your mind, or it's from my hand? How does it appear to you? It appears from my hand. This is the deception, right? Okay, what could be the next question? What could be the next question? How to remove ignorance?
How can I be awake?
Okay, how can I be awake? How can I remove ignorance? How can I know that this flower is coming from my mind? How can I know that? You're getting it? For that, you have to attend the Tibet House Narada Master's course. Right? If you don't know what is Narada Master's course, you have to check with the 3 of them here, 3 of them here, 4 here, 5 there, 6 there, Mandela, right? The number of people from whom you can get inquiry, right? Okay, so you have to study in detail. This is a very, very, very precious the thing. So, 4, be kind to yourself and be wisely kind to yourself. If you really want to be wisely kind to yourself, you have to know how this flower is coming from my mind, not from my hand. If you know this, this is the best way by which you can be wisely kind to yourself. You're getting it? Okay, so now the internal factor. What's the internal factor? Thus far we have discovered what's the internal factor? Ignorance. So this ignorance is the internal factor. So as long as we are trapped in the internal factor, external factor is always there. So you will never be free from suffering, right? So this our being under the influence of the internal factor, our being under the influence of this ignorance is known as the third suffering. What is the third suffering? Pervasive conditioned suffering, which means that we are suffering because of this internal factor. That is known as the pervasive conditioned suffering. And of course, we have to learn why this is known as pervasive. Pervasive meaning that wherever you are in samsara, whether you're having a bad dream, whether you're having a good dream, right? In both cases, the deception is there. Likewise, wherever in samsara you take birth, this ignorance pervades everywhere. So this ignorance is known as the pervasive conditioned suffering. Okay, so these are the 3 kinds of suffering. Okay, we'll stop here. Any questions? Any questions?
Well, I have a question, but I guess that you already gave the answer.
Yes.
So, sorry.
The mic.
Forgive me to pose this question, because I guess that you already posed the answer, but the question was not there, only the answer. It is important to me to just pose the question.
Yes.
If you say that the dream comes from mind, and also the reality around us comes from mind, so what do you call reality in the end? Because it's from the same source. I mean, not reality and reality, both.
Reality and? Not reality.
The absence of reality.
Yes.
Both are from, in the end, from the same source, the mind. So, how do you tell one from another? What do you call reality?
This is a good question.
Ultimately.
Okay. In fact, very recently we had a meeting, with a conference on quantum physics, neuroscience, and Buddhist philosophy. We had a conference recently.
How is that?
You were there. Okay. So you.
That's the most humble observer. So
That conference.
this is why you didn't notice me, because I didn't dare show myself around.
Okay. So basically, there, when I was making my presentation, a very respected scientist, very senior respected scientist, he said that, how can you know that something is ultimate? One, right? Or in other words, what he said is that 2 questions. One is, what is ultimate truth? And he told me that you don't have to give the answer now. What is the ultimate truth? And how do you know that you know this? 2 questions. You getting it? This is a very serious question. Okay, so let's say, in a very simple terms, say this is a flower, right? If I see this as a chocolate, that's not real. Being a flower is real, right? This is a simple example. Now, delving into the main point, what is real, what is unreal? While, of course, we have to know that this comes from your mind. That this flower not coming from my mind, that is unreal. That this flower, while it is coming from the mind, if I say that this is not coming from the mind, this is unreal. And that this coming from my mind, from the object, as opposed to my mind, from the object is not there. That's the real. Right? Any more questions? Okay. You have more question?
No, I'm a little puzzled, I'm a little
Okay.
surprised by your answer, but I guess, I hope that the other benefited from it. I didn't very much, but it
Okay.
because of my ignorance.
No. What I would say is that the fact that you asked this question, is something so precious. So precious. And from my very little experience of this whole many years of journey, it is like studying quantum physics. Studying quantum physics, say on day one, you attend the quantum physics, you must be courageous enough to ask question. Even though the question may be so basic, you must have the courage to ask the question. Only if you ask question, you will get the answer. And what the answer that you get may be very basic. It may not be quantum physics. Still, once you ask the first step question, you get the answer to the first step question. Then you can proceed to the second step question very easily. Then you'll get the second step answer. Then it becomes easy to jump to the third step question. This is how our mind goes deeper into inquiry, right? So therefore, this question is so precious. Even though you think that, and you have been very kind. Often some people, they, it's just their first day. So they would say that this is a wordplay. I mean, this is just a play of words. No, it's not wordplay. Only thing is that, you say so fast. What's the other side? My mind works very slow, right? So this wordplay means I've not understood this. You're getting it? If this is a wordplay, people will not spend 20 years on this, right? And within the people who spend 20 years there, they will grade who is good, who is not good, who is sharp, who is not sharp. If it's just wordplay, right, then all these distinctions will make no sense. Aranyaka, right? Revered by everybody. What is there? He just made some wordplays there, right? So what is so great about him? So if it is just a wordplay, but your approach is very different. What you said is that I do not understand it. This is the fact. If you think that I don't understand it, you will inquire. If you say it's just wordplay, you will not inquire. If you don't inquire, you will never get answer. If you never get answer, there's no choice other than to stay in the dream. If you stay in the dream, freedom is lost. Freedom is lost, misery. Right? The whole purpose of all the inquiry is what? To be kind to yourself, to be wisely kind to yourself. You're not being wisely kind to yourself. So the wisest thing to be kind to yourself is to wake up. And how to wake up? There are steps. And the first step, if you don't understand it, if you say that I don't understand it, I'd like to explore more, this is the way to the awakening. If you say it's a wordplay, full stop, that's dead end. You will never put effort to wake up from sleep. Right? This is a very good approach. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll stop here. So the dedication prayer.
To page 07Dec2018. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful, generously tenzin gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Mayushi and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious one thus gone of the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. Janjo Zenjo Re Boche Age Panam Ke Goche Ke As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization of the deeds and the prayers of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the three times, and to the upholding of the Dharma of teaching and realization. May I, in all lives, through the force of this merit, never separate from the four wheels of the Mahayana vehicle and accomplish all the stages of the path: renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect view, and the two stages. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the Tibetan. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. The path of the union of emptiness and compassion is lucidly explained by the protector of both the Dhamma and the beings of the snowland. You are the lotus holder, Tenzin Gyatso. We supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds, of the negative forces of humans and non-humans, who harbor malice through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas, be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of the three jewels. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the stages and the paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by Arya Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings on dependent origination in particular, even at the cost of my life.